Hi, I'm Mihaela from Polymer Clay, and I want to inspire you to make a lovely pair of four ceramic stud earrings. This is a perfect project if you have scrap clay, and this is how I ended up with this scrap clay. Um, in fact, I'm working with a pearl white Cernit polymer clay, and I was making some beautiful beads, large statement beads, using a stamp and pink ink and teal ink. So I stamped a beautiful stamp with two colors, and I used this stamped design to make large statement beads, but then I ended up with some scrap clay, and I liked the colors, I liked the pearlescent, and I thought I should use this scrap clay to make something beautiful with it. So as I said, I used the decorated clay to make some statement focal beads. And then I decided to use a wonderful silicone floral mold from Beebeecraft. I received it from Beebeecraft, and I want to thank them for this collaboration. And these are the stud earrings. This is the focal of the stud earrings that we are making together. So I took the scrap clay, I folded together, and I intend to make a marbled design. I just put the clay together, and then I just uh, ripped it apart and put it together. But in fact, I want a marbled design. And then I'm going to play a little bit to find the right amount of polymer clay that I need for this mold. When making earrings, you might want to consider using a cutter and cutting a certain amount of pieces of polymer clay. So let's say you need 3 pieces of polymer clay, or 5 or 6, and you are going to use this amount to make one focal for one earring. So it is easier when you have measured these amounts to make a second focal for the second earrings, cutting the same number of pieces of polymer clay. For me, it was more an intuitive work to make the second earring, but sometimes you might want to be more precise, or you might want to weight the clay to know just how much you've used for the first piece. Then I rolled the clay into a bowl, and then I pressed the clay inside the mold. But as you can see, there is some clay on top of the mold, inside and on top of the mold, and I am using my fingers to press the clay inside the mold, and this is going to be the back of the bead. So you might want to use a roller to roll the clay, and make sure that you don't have fingerprints if you push the clay like I did. And for some designs, normally I would trim off the excess clay, and I would only use the part that is inside the mold. And when using the blade to trim off the excess, you're sure to have a nice bag that you can texture with a texture sheet. But for this design, I wanted a larger and bulkier piece, so I'm using also the excess clay. And then you'll just have to use your craft knife and trim off the excess clay from the sides, and then use your tool to smooth off the edges. Make sure that the back looks nice as well. I also encourage you to work a little bit on the design and make sure that it looks nice and you like it. Normally, I would distort a little more moldy design, but for this flower bud, I like it like that. So I'm not going to work too much on it because I just like it. So I used the same pink ink pad to add some color on top of the flower, and you will notice that I applied then the teal color on top of the pink one. Um, and there are some elements, mm, deep elements that like veins that are not colored, because when you apply um, color like that from the from the ink pad, you don't get into the deeper recesses. And then I decided to add more interest to the piece, to add more depth to the piece. And I've used some metal leaf that I applied with a dotting tool. And I'm going to apply some metal leaf in some areas. Um, on the bottom to give this impression of depth, like you'll see the interior of the flower bud. And I'm going to use metal leaf to decorate the ends of the flower petals in some areas. The tip of the flower petal. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of metal leaf on top of the upper part of the flower bud to add more interest to the piece, to make it look interesting, but not too much. So do not overdo it. Just enough to have a beautiful effect, interesting effect. You could also decorate the entire back with metal leaf, and this is a design that is going to flip back and forth, and you might want to have the sides of the bead and the back covered in metal leaf. Why not? And in fact, this is why I've decided to use the marbled clay. This is because when the earring focal flips back and forth, you see the back, and the back is slightly marbled. And then I've just used a screw eye pin, and I put it screwed it inside the focal piece. You might want to use some liquid clay, but I think I've really screwed it very well, so I don't think I should add liquid clay, but you could if you want. And then you'll just have to bake your clay pieces for 40 minutes at the recommended temperature. I normally put an aluminum baking disposable pan on top to protect especially light colors of polymer clay from direct heat. So after baking them in the preheated oven for 40 minutes at the recommended temperature, I suggest you to use varnish to protect the colors and the metal leaf. I've used triple stick glossy glaze, and in some cases when using triple stick glossy glaze you might have little changes in the colors, but for me it's okay. And then you'll just have to open the loop, the eye the jump ring, sorry, of the stud finding, and attach the loop of the screw pin, and that's it. And this is the finished design, and I hope that you like it. Stay tuned for more inspiration for work with polymer clay. Thank you.